Those of you who are new, this is what I am reading. Reading the complete book. We are reading the complete book. We will be finishing it up. We will be finishing it up at 5 o'clock. Let me see what my schedule says. Out and tap into faith, encourage yourself. This is who I am. This is what I do, family. This is who I am. This is what I do. Blood of Jesus, encourage yourself down in His word. Okay, so today we will read chapter 12, 13, and 14. Chapters 12, 13, and 14. Earlier we read 9, 10, and 11. So 12, 13, and 14. Down in His word. What did I say on here? Oh, chapter 9. Redefining. People have their own problems. Redefining the new reality. So what did I do wrong? I'm looking here. So we all heard the phrase the power of the spoken word. He's a Prince of Peace. And then you will know. And then you will know. He's the will, the middle of the will. In the house. Okay. And then chapter, I think I read too far. Chapter 9. Let's see. Redefine. You'll know. You'll know. Something ain't looking right, y'all. Let me see what I done did. Lord Jesus. I be doing stuff all in the middle of the night. It looks like my flyer is wrong. I'm trying to find my flyer for. Okay, this is the first day. Okay, the first day we read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. To see this new day, so encourage yourself. Life, family, success. Chapter 8. Down in His word. Will this fear the phenomena of the true history? Remember I read that? Redefining the new black reality. While by faith, the last 460 years, black reality has been masked and redefined by layman religious crossbreeding, completing. Doing right. I didn't read this. The origin and ending of self-hate. The Black Widow's healing. Down in His word, just encourage yourself. Fear of the phenomenon of history. That's why that's off. And so if I'm on chapter 9, looks like I got more reading to do than I care to do. But I'm going to do it. But what did I do wrong on my schedule here? Chapter 9. Okay. So what am I looking at? Why am I all confused? Let me see what I said on here. Okay, here it is. Okay. All right. I don't look like I went backwards. Anyway, this is 1 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock. This says at 1 o'clock I'm supposed to read Redefining the New Black Reality, the Origins and Ending of Self-Hate, the Black Widow, Healing the Wounds of Black Women. That was at 1 o'clock. The blood of Jesus. Well, we're starting on chapter 9. 51. That's right. Let's off. Don't run to the mother, encourage yourself. And don't you run to the mothers or sisters, but run to the awesome word of God. That's some stories of truth. I read that. I read that. Did I read chapter 9? We black people today, we're not only in the house, but we do. I read that part about we do in the house. We've all heard the phrase, the power of the spoken word, but what to what degree do we understand the impact of this concept? One culture may be blah, 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 blah. Slavery as an institution. Seems like I read that. For example, if you took slaves, they must perform being out your crops. Now, I haven't read this, and soon, he will soon be in your house. Okay. You'll know. I will read 30 minutes and see where that gets us. Cause look like I've miswritten down some of my stuff. I be doing 6 months, y'all. I be doing 6 months over here. My little 68-year-old self. I'm an entrepreneur. I have 5 different businesses that I continually work on, trying to keep them up and going and keep the interest and the blah, 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 blah. That I do all on the internet. But my ministry is my number one thing that I do. Read every day at noon, every day at 7 p.m. But then I'm a wife. I still got to be a wife. I still got to be the mama. I got 4 children. I got 12 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. I got 10 great grandchildren. So I still got to be mama, still got to be great grandma. I talk to people all over the world. They call me all the time. They miss me. So I be getting confused sometimes. Okay, you are here again. Who is here again? I cannot see who is here again because it doesn't tell me on the thing. So who is here again, please, ma'am, sir, on Facebook? I cannot tell. You got to tell me. Blessed Cuts and Styles. God bless you, Brother William. Is that who that is? I think it is from Showers. God bless you, sir. How have you been doing with this? I know your business probably has been shut down during this season, and I ain't coming out until this thing be passed. Read Isaiah 26, 20, and 21. But right now, son, this has been such a powerful, powerful read. So we can understand why we, as a race of people, black women, black men, why we interact the way we interact with each other. And then it tells us why white society, white America acts the way they do towards us. It's a very, very thought-provoking book. Okay, Stephanie, praise God. Thank you, baby. You're back. You better go, girl. Okay, let's jump back into the read. We're going right into it because I got a lot to read. I thought I read more than I read, but not so. I don't know what I done did. I'm behind with the reading. I ain't read enough in 30 minutes, probably not enough segments. All right, let's go. Chapter 9, Redefining the New Black Reality. Redefining the New Black Reality. So we have all heard the phrase, the power of the spoken word. But to what degree do we understand the impact of this concept? One culture may view such wording one way, and another culture may perceive the same phrase in an entirely different light. These perceptions are predominantly determined based on that culture's ability, that culture's motive, and method used to define meanings relative to their reality. The scope of their vision determines the range of that specific people's level of freedom. So if noticed by now, Willie Lynch and those who use similar methodologies to control the minds of enslaved Africans were clear in defining the new reality of their African slave. Excuse me. Comprehension of the power to define, then redefine a new black reality by not only breaking old cycles to bring accurate insight to all intrigued by the magnetism of definitions and their subtle powers. Slavery, as an institution made familiar to the African during that period of time, gave an obvious physical or carnal understanding of control due to the earthly barbaric treatment of the human anatomy of the captured African. The only difference between historical slavery in America is not necessarily the time of treatment of black people, but our degree of tolerance based on the acceptance of custom design Euro-Gentile definitions crafted to psychologically intoxicate the black mind to accept an unnatural circumstance and living conditions masked by passive, aggressive, Euro-Gentile definitions. So, the last 446 years of black reality has been masked and defined by laymen, religious circles, and social scientists, who were all well aware that ultimate deception could be masked through shaping the slave's mind's perception of reality, while at the same time distorting the true meaning of key words necessary for the children of once bound slaves to ever liberate their own minds. True power is based on a people's ability to initiate a plan of constructive action based on their own definitions. It does not matter what the predominantly large social norms are due to the fact that we are another people already defined by our own reality. This reality is based upon a completely different standard defined by those who determined their black people were different from those of European descent. Today, more than ever before, black men, and black women in America must redefine the one word that has been given to us by those who not only defined, but took it away from us. That one word is freedom. And freedom to some does not mean freedom to all. Freedom of mobility, freedom of choice of employment, freedom of choice of relationship, freedom of choice of residency, freedom of all of these things sound wonderful, but what constructive use are they if at the core of our understanding of freedom is one that only reflects or mimics another culture's definition? What is freedom? What does freedom mean to you? It's 11 p.m. in the United Kingdom. You live in East Yorkshire. Okay, I see. So it's almost midnight over there. Thank you for coming in, Misty, on the end of your birthday. Praise God, Misty. Never before in the pages of history has another nationality been so completely consumed by another culture's ways. My question to you is that when, after being 140 years free from chains, why are we as a collective so fragmented? The answer is simple. One nation has defined another nation, its position, and that one nation being black people who have accepted their assigned position based on what was defined for them. Future detail of the definition of freedom can best be expressed by simply comparing Willie Lynch's people and the offspring of those captured Africans that move about somewhat freely throughout this country. Freedom to the Euro-Gentile is to roam the earth, build giant companies, set up governments and military bases in other countries. That's what the Europeans start out to do from Europe. The white people's way back in the way. To destroy anyone who dares to not comply and to forcibly draft anyone at any given time to do their bidding. On the other hand, freedom, as perceived and defined for blacks in this country, is to reap the material scraps from the rewards of the Euro-Gentiles' freedom, and at the same time believe that they are reaping the benefits of true freedom. Simply because under the system of North America style slavery, we have been made to view another man's definition of freedom as if it completely applies to our particular set of circumstances. Here are documents on controlling the definitions of language and are stated by slave makers as follows. This is by Brother Lynch. Now, crossbreeding completed. To further severance from their original beginning, we must completely annihilate the mother tongue to both the new nigger and the new mule, and institute a new language that involves the new life's work of both. You know that language is a peculiar institution. It leads to the heart of a people. The more a foreign knows about the language of another country, the more he's able to move through all levels of that society. Therefore, if the foreigner is an enemy of another country, to the extent that he knows the body of language, to that extent is the country vulnerable to attack or invasion of a foreign culture. For example, you take a slave. If you teach him all about your language, he will know all your secrets. And if he is then no slave, for you can't fool him any longer, and being a fool is one of the basic ingredients to the slavery system. You got to keep them fooled, bamboozled. That's part of being a slave. Keep them ignorant. Don't let them know no knowledge. Now, for example, if we told a slave that he must perform in getting out our crops, and he knows the language well, he would know that our crops didn't mean our crops. And the slavery system would break down, for he would relate on the basis of what our crops really meant. So you have to be careful in setting up the new language, for the slave would soon be in your house talking to you as man to man. And that's death to our economic system. In addition, the definition of words or terms is only a minute part of the process. Values are created and transported by communication through the body of the language. A total society has many interconnected value systems. In these values in the society, all these values in the society have bridges of language to connect them for orderly workings in the society. But for these language bridges, these many value systems would shapely clash, would shapely clash and cause internal strife or civil war. The degrees of the conflict being determined by the magnitude of issues of relative opposing strength in whatever form. For example, if you put a slave in a hog pen and train to life there and train him to live there and incorporating him to value it as a way of life completely, the biggest problem you would have out of him is that he would worry you about provisions to keep the hog pen clean or partially clean, or he might not worry you at all. So on the other hand, if you put the same slave in the same hog pen and make him slip and incorporate something in his language whereby he comes to value a house more than he does his hog pen, you got a problem. He will soon be in your house. And that's part of the problem with America today. Not only has the black man been in their house, the white man's women are going in that house with the black man. That's the problem. That's what's driving the white men crazy. Because the white women don't even want the white men. Lord Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Chapter 10, the origin and ending of self-hate. So in order to successfully ensure an end to the self-hate, which is the foundation of disunity, the old plantation education received by black men and women during our early enslavement as a collective must be defined as racially counterproductive. Comparing the black man and black woman of America to other organized nations around the globe, we find no other people with such a peculiar type of psychological basis for socializing with one another. Within the mental perimeters of the so-called freed slave lives, the oppressor's idea of a crippling self-sabotage behavior. These actions can be... Thank you, Miss Doty. I saw Miss Doty flow. Of course I can follow you. Yes, ma'am, I will follow you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. There you go. Thank you. These actions can be traced back to what is known as the crabs in the barrel mentality. When one black person strives to serve a cause higher than the typical norm set for the betterment of the whole, the rest of the crabs in the barrel instinctively disapprove, strive to be something other than a servant of the opponent's system, and you'll find yourself being hated by your own kind on the same level as expressed through the man who by nature showed the African no love. So where did this type of thinking stem from? Is self-hatred now a chemically fixated part of black men and black women in America? If so, what has happened as a result of past social training that we as a people have not noticed in our investigation through psychology, genetics, and Afro-centered social sciences? First and foremost, we will have to understand the detrimental genetic effects of the chemistry that the African in America has encountered through involuntary and voluntary race mixing. Now, this is one of the missing factors in terms of understanding why it is so difficult for black people to trust, unite, love one another, and productively organize to build anything of surmountable value outside of service to the children of the former slave masters. Before expounding on this aspect of our subject any further, ask yourself, do you understand why the slave master raped and used crossbreeding on the pure-blooded African? First of all, what is the true definition of crossbreeding? So according to Webster's dictionary, crossbreed, an individual or breed produced by the crossing of different varieties or more rarely species. Cross means to pervert, to thwart, to oppose, go counter to. Number 4, to pass over from one chromosome to another that is homologous, said of chromatin, material in a gene or factor. In order for us to go any further, we must clearly define the word chromosome. So the microscopic rod-shaped bodies into which the chromatin separates during mitosis, mitosis, this sounds like a scientist reading right now, Lord Jesus. They carry the genes that convey hereditary characteristics. So review the following information recorded on slave making, the documents, the motive of slave making through the creation of black on black self-hate. Here's more of Brother Lynch's letters. Crossbreeding niggers means taking as many drops of good white blood and putting them into as many nigger women as possible, varying the drops by various tones that you want, and then letting them breed with each other until the circle of colors appear as you desire. Just keep on sleeping with them, sleep with this one, sleep with her daughter, sleep with her daughter's daughter, and then you get the color you want, because they ain't nothing but animals anyway. But what are you, as you going raping our women? What are you? Whew. Okay, save myself. What this means is this. Put the niggers and the horse in the breeding pot. Mix some asses and some good white blood, and what do you get? You got a multiplicity of colors of ass-backward, unusual niggers running, tied to the backward ass, long-headed mules, the production of itself. The other sterile, the one constant, the other dying. We keep the nigger constant, for we may replace the mule for another tool. Both mule and nigger tied to each other, neither knowing where the other came from, and neither productive for itself nor without each other. So when observed, the above is just as physically noticeable in the United States of America as it is in South Africa, where you have an entire segment of the population called colored. I'm colored. The meaning of the word colored means something totally opposite to what black people have traditionally been made to think. When the suffix "ed" is placed on the end of color, which signifies the past state of a noun or verb, after the occurrence of certain action, in reference to crossbreeding, the word colored has a hormonal effect, which means having the nature of and is derived from the Greek word horme, H-O-R-M-E, impulse. The significance beneath the surface of these definitions, as they relate to the intention of the slave master, is to produce internal conflict within the black psyche through contaminating the black slave genetically with the inception of Euro-Gentiles DNA at a biochemical level. Not only is the bioengineering of different shades necessary to create a psychotic self-hate race war among the black slave population necessarily during the days of physical bondage, but today is reinforced socially through desegregation, formerly known as racial integration. This illusion is another aspect of century-old control methods used by every pharaoh throughout history, which is the intermingling of the emotions through alleged social gains from wanting the material benefits that come along with uniting and defending the economic kingdom of the oppressor. Okay, we got another 7 minutes. Chapter 11, The Black Widow, healing the wounds of the black woman. Healing the wounds of the black woman. I'll turn some air on this to get a little bit warm in this room. Hold on, I got a little portable air conditioner in here. I tell you, some eye-opening reading, ain't it? It's eye-opening to me. Because I was colored. Now. We African Americans, we don't know who, what, when. We got so many colors and variations. I mean, Willie Lynch, he worked this thing. He worked this thing on us. All right. The Black Widow, healing the wounds of black women. The red black spider, which is one of the early names affiliated with this peculiar creature now called the Black Widow, will be used as a metaphorical fashion because its relationship among its own species best describes the name of black male, black female relationships as a result of North American slave making techniques. Now, when the list of differences mentioned in the Willie Lynch letter were used to create division among the black slave, the most practiced and effective difference was the different nature of the male and the female. In essence, these are two natures that under normal circumstances, without interruption, would complement one another harmoniously. As a basis for properly concluding this writing, let us ask ourselves, what is the significance of the spider on the front cover of this book? I did notice it. See the spider? I did notice, and I was wondering, what is the significance of the spider on the book? Okay. The spider on the book. In the process, we will define in detail the curse of Willie Lynch in a manner that will allow us to clearly see through the web of social chaos, which serves as the trap for black people in North America. We've already discussed earlier the slave-making system of Willie Lynch and others of his like mind that perfectly understood the natural structure of the roles of leadership and responsibility communicated between the male and the female within the framework called the family unit. In studying the nature of the black widow spider, I made an interesting comparison to the end results stemming from the Willie Lynch method. First, let us define the word widow outside of typical belief of what the word describes on the surface. Number one meaning of widow is, of course, a woman who has outlived the man to whom she was married at the time of his death, especially such a woman who was not remarried. Number two, in certain card games, an extra hand dealt to the table such as the trump card. Number 3. And most importantly, to deprive or berave of something valued is to widow, bereave, which means to deprive, to strip, to leave destitute, to deprive as by death, before the person or thing taken away, as bereaved of a father, mother, or child, to take away from, to strip, as to bereave. So during slavery, the Euro-Gentile slave maker trained the black female to be dominant and to turn over possession of the black infant child, especially the more passively trained black male slave, to the white authority. This old archaic occurrence is presently flourishing in the minds and actions of black men and women in America today. This aspect of black male-female behavior acts as a poison to the whole unit, due to being fed through the slavery process in small quantities in the form of harmful emotions of tyranny and competition through jealousy, which is destructive to happiness and the general welfare of a race. This position can also be defined as the wrongful influence exhibited by the corrupting of the black mind brought about by centuries of deceitful leadership. Now, the title, Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch, is given as a curse due to the old archaic karma that has followed over from generation to generation in a cycle that needs to be broken. And I think what we see in today is this curse being broken all across America. I think that's what's going on. I think our white brothers and sisters are saying, hold on, wait a minute. Y'all been doing this too long. We ain't it. Oh, you guys are listening to me now? Pretty much you're all 40, 30, maybe 50 white brothers and sisters. Y'all ain't having it. No, you can't treat people like that. I like black folks. I'm married to somebody black. I got mixed grandbabies. I love the black men. Black men love me. Being alive, well, I'll leave off that now. And the study of black widow during the slavery, blah, 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 which is happening structure. The title Breaking the Curse of the White Willie Lynch is given as a curse due to the old archaic karma that has followed over from generation to generation, a cycle that needs to be broken. That's why I think it's being broken today. Therefore, the circumstance surrounding the black man and the black woman could be classified not only as an unnatural but a curse, which is defined as to subject to evil or inflict injury on a person. The entity of Lynch's curse exists in the subconscious mind and is carried out by and presently lives in the black material reality. This mind reproduces and lives on stronger due to the nature of its design, which survives based on the existence of the single black female, whether single or married, is still considered a black widow because her male counterpart of the species, like the black widow male, lacks potency or power. A woman without a man of power fits the classification of black widow because a man without adequate power is considered one of the living dead. Being alive yet in the dark, or not illuminated by the light of understanding, puts the black man and the black woman in a similar condition of the time period called the Dark Ages, where lack of true progress and ignorance prevail. The ignorance that is carried on among millions of black men and women is exactly as planned by Willie Lynch in the year 1712. And finally, this is why the black widow spider was used on the cover, because historically they are synonymous with curses, mysticism, and things of like nature. But mostly because the nature of the male and female of this particular species perfectly describes and parallels with the unnatural aspect of the circumstances among black men and black women in North America. The male is passive and the female of this species is extremely aggressive. And the male is primarily only used for mating. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Who is that just came on and put all that little stuff on there? Is that Lena? Yes, that was later. Thank you, daughter. Thank you, precious. Thank you. The male is passive, and the female of this species is extremely aggressive. And the male is primarily only used for mating. Talking about the black widow spider. And that's what they've done to our black males. That's what they have done to these black men in America. Just like the black widow female spider, that is unquestionably the more dominant half of the species, she's also known to be aggressive after mating and has a notorious propensity to turn on, devour, and eat the non-venomous male after the mate. She like, eat them up. Lord Jesus, we ain't like that, is we? I hope not. Oh gosh. The role reversal as implemented by Willie Lynch is a technique as old as one that Pharaoh used during the time of Moses in the Bible, where the newborn males were to be killed, physically or mentally, and the economic sparing of the female in that society ironically parallels with the black male in the society today as reflected in the unnatural nature of the female reference to the black widow spider. There are several major obstacles that black people in America must overcome before rising to the next level of progress and cultural consciousness. The tackling of these psychological obstacles are of profound importance to the black race overall, but especially for the black woman. That'd be me. Let me see what you got to say. The overall success of our present condition and discussion involves her investment on a very deep spiritual level. If we as men and women are the product of a culture giving birth to a set of odd-shaped circumstances due to the nature of our arrival to this point in time, then we must ask ourselves several questions about Willie Lynch, including those who were possessed by his state of mind. What did Mr. Lynch and other slave masters understand about the nature of power, the nature of women in their relationship to power? Secondly, how do modern black women who aren't aware of these old control methods executed on the black slaves on the plantation presently reflect and manifest the master's intended reactions in modern day relationships? Third, how can an entire of people be held by legalistic, legal, oh, oh, I've been reading too long, my eyes running together. I'm trying to make legal, it's legislation. I'm looking LEG, legalistic, it's legislation. Be held by legislation when the female is being used as a political pawn to aid in the demise of family and the name of government assistance. Finally, how would black men and women benefit as a collective from a more black survival approach to the institution of marriage? And one of the other issues on the board related to breaking the old habits of mimicking another people's culture and way of organizing family structures, mostly centered around vain, egotistical motives, superficial creative values, and Eurocentric self-centered motives when dealing with one another as black men and black women. That was all one sentence, y'all. It didn't have no periods. As an author, it is my responsibility to seek and discover truth while reflecting on the hand. Husband, you didn't come in the house tonight. Okay, no. As an author, it is my responsibility to seek and discover truth while reflecting on the hand that history has dealt our people. Theoretically speaking, white males have always understood from a biblical standpoint that the woman was and is the helpmeet to her husband. In other words, the Caucasian knows that the nature of woman under healthy circumstances is to support their men and help his guidance, manifested destiny. So to rule a nation securely without the major loss of physical life, the Euro-Gentile set forth a plan of mastery of the black woman. Control of the black female slave was implemented first and foremost to effect total control of the black male slave, because the only way to rule a man mentally without open conflict is through the one thing by nature he was designed to love unconditionally, and that's his African woman. Hold on, I got to get to husband. Husband. Bless him, Jesus. That was my husband. He listening on he has his speakers, and he got them blared high so he can hear me, reading. I hope I ain't burning my food up in there. Ooh, I hope he check it. Because let me see how many more pages I got. Uh-oh, did I put on that page? Am I almost finished? Theoretically, because the only way to rule a man mentally without open conflict is through the one thing by nature he was designed to love unconditionally, and that's his African woman. Otherwise, the only way to non-violently rule a man is to do so through welding influence over the mind of his woman, combined with training the black male mind to function in a subjectively passive manner. So using the Willie Lynch document and others like it as point of reference, we as black men and women will both be able to break the curse of Willie Lynch. Read the slave master's comments about this aspect of our subject matter as follows. This is Willie Lynch. Then take the female. Run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way, because she's the most important factor for our good economics. If she shows any sign of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of bitch out of her. That's what the man said. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so, you spoil good economics. When in complete submission, she'll train her offsprings in the early years to submit to the labor when they become of age. All right, back to the reading. So, the above statements are true by action based on the supporting social circumstances and the loyalty of the female to government handouts. Putting money in her pocketbook creates a subconscious alliance between the black female indirectly with the white male, which serves as a guise of white power in the name of black female security. In turn, the power of the will of young black males raised by black females have in turn no legitimate legal choice but to be turned over to the system. From a historical view, this is the standard pattern of action created on the plantation that is still expressed through the black female today, especially through overprotection of the black male child. For example, read what the Willie Lynch letter and the making of the slave documented as follows, and ask yourself, are there any noticeable patterns consistent with the economic labor established during the days of forced physical slavery? That's what Willie Lynch said. Now, before the breaking process, we had to be alertly on guard at all times. Now we can sleep because his woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her infant slave training process. He's a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age. So by the time a nigger reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken in and ready for life's sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a unit of good labor force. Continually, though, the breaking of the uncivilized savage niggers by throwing the nigger female savage into a frozen psychological state of independence, by killing off the protective male by creating a submission-dependent mind of the nigger male savage, we have created an orbit that turns in its own axis forever. Unless, hey, glory be to God, unless a phenomenon occurs and shifts the position of the female savages. Unless a phenomenon, a man getting killed, two men getting killed in a week's time, a lady getting shot in her bed while she sleeps, unless some phenomenon comes along to change it. So will you help continue the cycle of Willie Lynch curse on your kind? The author is asking. All right, so we're finished. We will conclude, or we will finish reading within the next hour. I will be back on here at 5 o'clock before my 7 p.m. Bible read. Okay, whew. What a taxing read. This stuff is taking stuff out of me because it's so hurtful. It's so, just reading it. But I thank everybody. God bless you again, Miss Lena. Thank you all that have come. My beloved Sister Misty in United Kingdom. God bless you, sis. In Yorkshire, West in the United Kingdom. Again, happy birthday to you, sis. Amen. All right, let's get off of here and I'll be back within the hour or so. God bless. All right. Book at Amazon. Can I get the book at Amazon? Yes, you can get the book at Amazon. I'm sorry. Yes, you can get the book at Amazon.com. Okay. Shutting down. You can get the book at Amazon.